Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Unorthodox Otaku Guy, working on the figure photography series of my tips and tricks. Now, on the previous episode, I did cover a little bit about backdrops for tips and tricks on that. Now, I wanted to cover something that may help out with backdropping, and this is a very important one that can really come in handy, and it's none other than the lighting. Lighting is really, really important, and it's really not discussed enough on how to make a shot work really, really well. And, it's the most common thing you're going to see that people screw up on in your shots, and it's lighting. Lighting is super important for making your shots go from a shelfie to something that could be stellar. And I've done so much experimenting with lighting now, and this is something that you can do anywhere, with just simple materials even, where you can make your shot so much better and not even realize it. I'm going to cover a couple examples and you'll just be like, wow, but really, like, that's amazing, because if you don't experiment with it enough, that's where it's really going to shine. So we're going to start with something really, really simple of these, and it's, of course, straight up, you get your basic lamp. Alright, so I have an overhead lamp here. This one has a incandescent bulb in it. No, I'm sorry, that is a fluorescent bulb in there. The incandescent ones don't really give great light. They're yellowed. And the same effect I've noticed with a lot of LED bulbs. LED bulbs tend to be a little on the off-white side. This incandescent one actually provides a much better lighting. It's a lot whiter, and it depends on how many don't take me very professional on that. It's the amount of K in there, like the Kelvin, I think it's pronounced. It's how much color is in the bulb. Like, it could be bluer, it could be more yellow, it could be white. It's like depends on the scale of it. So I won't get into the technical side of that because I'm not a professional on that. Never will admit that. So, in simple terms, this light, being like that, has a nice white, almost bluish tone that's easily adjustable in my shots with editing or anything of the sort, or even as is. It's not that bad. Now, simple lights like I have in the room, these right now are LEDs, and they're a little on the yellowish side. I may not pick up on the camera at the moment, but yeah, it's even the same thing for these that are white LEDs. Those are simple ones from IKEA for my shelving, and they're a little on the yellowish side. Now, that can be adjusted in your photos, but it doesn't really give that good of a shot. So, before we get into any of more advanced of that, we're going to go to simple tips and tricks that might really, really help. Now, bear with me one sec. Now, one simple thing you could do to mess with light is get something of either a mirror. Now, this mirror here, probably just saw it yourself, is $1 at Dollar Tree. Picked it up, no problem. This works really, really well on a budget, where you can just take simple light and reflect it back at your figure on the opposite side and cover dark shadow spots that your light is actually casting on your figure from an opposing source, depending on how many lights you have projected on your shot. Now, even if you have enough light surrounding around it, you're probably going to have somewhat of a shadow spot. And having a mirror around can really, really make easy usage of some light and bounce it back at your figure and kill a couple of those shadow spots. Now, another thing you could do is lay down a piece of white paper, it's literally simple white paper, and use it as a bounce. And you can have the light kind of softly reflect off of it and cover a little bit of those shadow zones. You can also do it in tandem with, depending on how much you want to eliminate some of those shadows. Now, mind you, on your subject and what you're shooting, some of those shadows might be intentional. Now, remember to get creative. So if you want to have something, depending on what your theme is, your angle is, or whatnot, shadowing is totally fine. But if you're not having it intentional and you want to make your subject a little more clear and vivid and not have over bleeding of shadows, then you're going to want to reflect some light. And that could really, really make or break your shots sometimes, which is really cool because after I started doing it, it really woke up a lot of my shots and made them a lot better. And it's really, really simple to do. For using a mirror or anything like that, like unfortunately this one doesn't really have like a kickstand or anything like that. You might want to use like something heavy or whatever to like prop it up and hold it into place. One thing I can do is recommend is if you have your camera set up on a tripod, this is really, really useful. Or if you have a remote, that's if you do. This is not a thing there, but it's just a tip and trick I'll throw out there. You can hold and adjust the mirror while you have the remote in the other hand, and you can adjust your light and then hit the shot, adjust, take a shot, adjust, take a shot, because you might actually find one that you like in there that you may have missed just because of lighting. And I found that just recently, even doing a shot I did not too long ago, where I took quite a few shots at a couple different angles to how much light I wanted, and one in the middle actually was a winner. So it wasn't the beginning or the end, it was actually in the middle of my progress of adjusting my lighting, where I found a shot that was really nice because it really brought out the face. And the other ones, one of the, actually quite a few of the other ones, one of the eyes wasn't that visible. So this is a really cool tip and trick that you may actually enjoy, and it saves a couple of my shots, because if you go through the effort of setting all up a display and whatnot, take a bunch of photos, you know, if it moves or anything like that, or you took it down or everything, and you don't have the shot that's a winner, you know, it's kind of hard to set that all back up the way you want it to. This could really something that can make or break your shot and save you a lot of trouble. So, oh, that's another thing. Always take a lot of shots. All right. So, onto one of my favorite things is, now this is if you feel ambition. This was a really cool project that I picked up, that I got a couple ideas from some people, and I kind of made it happen. And I never actually see anyone actually go through and do this. And it's one of my favorite things I built for doing figure photography. Now, this is a great recycling thing you can do. So, it involves taking apart an old CCFL type LCD screen. Now, be careful when you do that, of course. Always do it when it's off. Do it at your own risk. I am not liable for anything that you do. This is a cool tip and trick, though. But this is a inside of a CCFL LCD screen. Now, this whole panel is basically a soft light, which is really cool, because what normally sits here is this thin liquid crystal display that is backlit by this. And this has to be powered, of course, by some source, but these things produce an extremely soft light, and it's awesome. I can't explain how awesome the soft light is on here. It's like taking one of those boards that you have for x-rays, and you have one in your hands right here, kind of. It's super soft light, and it's awesome. It doesn't cast shadows that well and whatnot. It is brilliant. So, I made one here, and I made one really large one over here out of another screen. And those were two really old screens that we had that were quite dated. They were beaten. They've been used for a long, long time. And I gave them another life, because now they're backlights for my soft lighting rig that I set up. And I can produce light on each side, and then I can also use a mirror and reflect any soft light at a subject in the front as well. And I also did get creative once, and I used one of those, and I made a prop setup and put the soft lighting as the roof, as it was overhead lighting for my shot, and it was absolutely amazing. So, these things are super recommended, cool if you're into that type of creative stuff. You'll have to do a little bit of soldering and wiring and whatnot. I made some extensions for these wires because the wires they normally come with are really short. Now, how do we power these? This was a really, really, really hard thing to figure out first. But then I was thinking, basically on eBay, you can pick up CCFL inverters. They're backlight inverters, basically. They're good for monitor testing normally. So what I did is I took two of those, and there's the wiring kits right there. Mind you, I had to order 4 of these to get 2 wire kits. I did not get enough wire kits with just 2. So I have 2 backup ones just in case I blow these up. But I had to have enough wiring here, so it was a good thing I ordered 4. Just a pro tip if you decide to order these. But it's also good to have backups, just in case you fry one of these. So, good to have backups. They're really, really cheap. So, okay. Now, the tricky part was, I had a bunch of old laptops and whatnot laying around, and I need to have basically RNGesus on my side for this, because not only did I have to have a connector that worked for the plugin for that, because this has got to be powered by something. Alright, this is the inverter. This is doing the conversion basically. But I needed to have a connector that plugged in properly, and I needed to have enough power out of a power brick to power this, because these things take a good amount of a punch. So what I found was on this little wiring here with these two inverters, I had a 12 volt brick that didn't work. It didn't have enough punch. The lighting was really dim running two screens like that. So I've got this 19 volt one from an really old gaming laptop. And this 19 volt one, it's got 4.74 amps for this output. Now, this is something I gotta do, as this is like one of those things, it's basically a disclaimer even. This is only able to be powered on for so long. If I leave this on, it starts to overheat. So I haven't found that magical sweet spot yet of how much power I need to bring it down to. Because the last one I had was 12 volts and a low amperage, and it didn't have enough juice. So around 19 volts and almost 5 amps. This is a bit much, but it works really well and has vivid light. So basically what I do is I set up my shot, set up my lights and all my power, but I don't power it right away. And then when I'm going to do my shooting, I power it up. And it gives me about, I would say, maybe 10 minutes to 20 minutes of shooting before it starts to really get overheated. And then you're going to see the lights start to flicker and whatnot. That's where you got to basically unplug it, let it cool down. And then it's fine after that. So it's one of those like things where it's like, it's a tricky field when dealing with this. I don't know an official solution to this. Also, if it's even cheap. But making these was amazing. So I can make some amazing shots for so cheap. This was just used with recycled bits, because I had broken gaming laptops laying around, so I got a power brick. I just ordered some of those inverter adapters, and I ripped apart two LCD screens that were CCFL, not LED. They had to be CCFL. You could probably use LED, and LED is actually probably a lot cheaper, safer, and easier to use as a backlight. But it's really modern. So unless you have like a cracked screen one that you can rip out the guts for, and you don't feel like fixing it and like ordering a new LCD display, that's a good option, because you can probably easily set that up to be powered. While these ones, they require an inverter to be powered. So just a food for thought. I haven't done an LED one yet. LED one sounds interesting, but LEDs are super modern and they're not everywhere yet. CCFL screens are everywhere. They've been in the monitors for a long, long time. It's including like your LCD TVs that you probably see every day. You might even have in your living room still, unless you convert it to LED by chance. A lot of people did get LEDs, but it's a really cool project that you might be interested in. It takes some experimenting. It's a lot of DIY at your own risk. Understand that. I am not liable for anything that you do in terms of electrical, soldering, fire, or whatnot. Have fun. But these are cool ideas that might make some really awesome shots if you are confident in your abilities and what you do, and also are, you tinker a lot. I do a lot of tinkering, so this is normal for me. In terms of that for lighting, that's a cool couple different ideas I can recommend for lighting that might make some really absolutely stellar shots, whether it be something you ripped apart, that's a really cheap project, or as simple as specific lamps. So, I hope this helped inspire you to get creative with reflecting light, what lights to use maybe, and also if you wanted to try to build a soft light rig. Do a little bit of homework on that. It definitely requires a little bit of experimentation, as I cannot guarantee anything type of results. I did happen to get really, really lucky with how mine turned out, especially because CCFLs, working with inverters, can be really dangerous. It is high voltage, and I just cannot stress that enough, that it's at your own risk. Those are high voltage inverters. It can be very dangerous, maybe even lethal. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I do know it is very dangerous. So, that is definitely, again, at your own risk. Cool thing I figured I'd like to share with you, as I love these things, and I hope you get inspired to experiment. Just do it safely. Just seriously, just start with a light and a bounce. You'll love it. get a mirror, boom. When I'm really lazy, I just use a lamp and I reflect some light, and it does a wonderful job. So until the next time, I'll have some more tips and tricks of cool things you can do to take some awesome figure photography shots. And gotta figure out what I'm gonna cover next. I don't know if it'll be dioramas next and whatnot, but we'll see you at there. If you have any questions on tips and tricks, throw them out there, and I'll be able to put something together for you. Until the next time you see me, thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope this inspired you. Post some things if you made some stuff that maybe you did off of this inspiration. If you have any questions, maybe I can help out with some creative stuff. Until the next time, otherwise, remember to stay unorthodox.